Hallo en welkom by Fokus, ek is Lenet Francis. Later in die program besoek ons Johannesburg se historiese gedenkwaardighede as deel van die Goudstad se 125ste bestaanjaar wat vanjaar gevier word. Maar eers ons hoofstorie. Die verkiesing van Lindiwe Mazibuko as die Demokratiese Alliansie se nuwe parlementêre leier het onlangs gemengde reaksie landwyd uitgelok. President Jacob Zuma het in reaksie hierop aan die media gesê dat Mazibuko se aanstelling 'n bewys is van Suid-Afrika se suksesvolle demokrasie en dat vroue voordeel daaruit trek. Daar is egter vanuit verskeie oorde gereageer op Mazibuko se ras en beweringe is gemaak dat sy deur die DA gebruik word om swart stemme, veral in die Weskaap, te werf. Ek het vroeër die week met Lindiwe Mazibuko oor die en ander kwessies gepraat.
Lindiwe, thank you so much for your time. If one looks at your CV of late, I noticed that you were a parliamentary researcher. You stood for public office in 2008, elected to Parliament in 2009, became the DA's national spokesperson and, of course, Shadow Deputy Minister of Communication, and then now into 2011 parliamentary leader, and a lot of people have referred to it as a very meteoric rise in the ranks. And Helen Zille, your party leader, described your victory as a new era. How do you think have you helped to transform the DA thus far?
Well, I think the speed with which I have been able to rise through the party's ranks is actually an indication of the kind of political party that the DA is. We are very much a party of the future, a modern political party which is always ready to take on new politicians, new fresh blood, and add to that the experienced, skilled and expert politicians we already have in our ranks, and create a party that is a vibrant mix of ages, of groups of people from different communities, races, genders, in order to start to build an alternative for the future of this country. So I'm not the only young politician who's had a meteoric rise in the Democratic Alliance. I would argue that I'm probably the most prominent, but there are many young people who are making extraordinary waves in the party. We have a 29-year-old mayor of the best run municipality in Gauteng. We have a 30-year-old CEO. We have lots and lots of young people in the DA who are fast making tracks in the party. And it's going to become even more evident with every coming election. We've just received a new crop of young councillors, people as young as 23 and 24 years old in metro municipalities throughout South Africa. And it's all part of our drive to remain a party that is open, that has got open channels of entry, and that allows more and more people who want to build the future of this country to actually enter politics and have a chance of becoming public representatives.
But what do you believe, do you bring to the table that Athol Trollip couldn't?
Well, the basis of my entire election campaign was this belief that in the DA we need to start to capture the hunger that people in this country have for a political party that is looking to the future and that is determined to solve the problems that people are facing today. At the moment, the governing party is increasingly focused on the past. It doesn't talk to people about what it can do to improve their lives today. Instead, it continues to reference the struggle. And with the passage of years, that becomes less and less relevant in young people's lives, especially young people who are unemployed, who are not in skills development, on training, and who are worried about their future prospects. So what I believed and what I campaigned on was the basis that I had the skills and the expertise to communicate the party's vision, following on my role as party spokesperson, but also that I represented a new chapter in South African politics, if you can put it that way, that I could add diversity to the party's leadership, and that I could also encourage young people to feel as though that they have in mainstream politics a leadership who are able to reflect their hopes and their dreams and their fears and their aspirations, because that's an important part of the next couple of elections. We've got a first election in 2014 where there will be voters who weren't born and who did not live under apartheid. This doesn't mean they haven't been affected by apartheid. Quite the contrary. A lot of young people who've been born into poverty are in poverty as a consequence of policies that were geared against black South Africans. But what we have an opportunity to do is say to young people, you can honor your past and recognize your past, but you can also look towards your future. And the Democratic Alliance is the party that can take you there.
How do you plan to unite party members who've been very loyal to Athol Trollip and particularly prior to the election?
Well, one of the exciting things about this election campaign was that it was an opportunity for South Africa to see how an internal democratic system in a political party can result in an outcome which everybody accepts and which then doesn't result in purges or in political revenge. So we accepted that the election was part of healthy internal democracy in the DA, and we fought a very hard campaign. We lobbied, we campaigned, our colleagues stood up and said, I endorse Lindiwe Mazibuko, I endorse Athol Trollip for XYZ reasons, and things were said. And it was all very much part of what we call electionitis in the DA, that hard internal election campaign. But what we've done in the DA in the past and what we'll continue to do is have elections with outcomes that are accepted by all on both the winning and the losing side, and then be able to have leadership which is able to unite both supporters of both sides of the campaign and move forward to achieve the party's objectives. I think South African voters have been very much acclimatized to the ANC's method of internal democracy, which results in winners taking over and losers being purged from the party. And what I found in the very short time, I've only been in office for 2.5 weeks, that in fact many of my colleagues have voluntarily come forward and said to me, I supported Athol in the campaign, but I accept the results of the election and I'm going to support you. You are my leader. And front and center of that process has been Athol Trollip himself, who has led by example. So there's no question that it was a hard-fought election, and we're all going to have, a little bit of a rest when recess comes around. But for now, while the work continues, I have the support of my colleagues. It was an internal election. It was democratically held. The outcome was democratic, and everybody has accepted that outcome.
We've focused earlier on and mentioned that the issue of race was throughout the campaign a key issue, and a lot of has been made about it. But I wanted to ask you, do you believe that your blackness has been an advantage to this campaign and particularly to the DA?
Of course I do. It's what I said earlier. I campaigned on the basis that I would add diversity to the party's leadership, but I didn't campaign on the basis that I was a black female candidate. There are lots of black female MPs in the DA. Any of them could have stood up and said, I'm also black and female, vote for me. What would the difference between us have been? So I was offering myself up as a skilled person who was capable of communicating the party's vision, as somebody who was a seasoned debater on behalf of the party. I went through 2 election campaigns as party spokesperson, in which I engaged senior members of our opposition, the ANC. And in addition, I was offering the skills and expertise of my colleagues, Wattie Watson and Wilmot James, who I believe round out our leadership team. Wattie has been in Parliament since 1994. He's a seasoned political leader. Wilmot James has worked in civil society for many years. He started the Institute of Democracy for South Africa, is a seasoned liberal politician, and has the experience outside the legislature of political influence and political maneuverings, which he can bring to bear on what we do in our caucus. So between the 3 of us, we made a very compelling offer. And going forward, we are a trio of leaders. We work together on every single aspect of leadership. But my responsibility is to craft the vision, be the communicator, and their responsibility is to support by helping put together a strategy to achieve the goals that I set out.
Net hierna sit ons die gesprek voort, bly ingeskakel. Welkom terug by Fokus. Hierdie is deel 2 van ons vroeëre gesprek met Lindiwe Mazibuko, die DA se nuwe parlementêre leier.
How do you think, and in which areas does the DA need to transform even further to attract young black voters, like-minded voters like you?
Well, again, it's not my responsibility as a black leader in the DA only to secure black votes. The DA is a diverse political party. It's also my responsibility to secure white Afrikaans-speaking voters and Indian voters who are Hindu and Muslim faith, or atheist voters, or gay or heterosexual voters. It's not a question of me only being responsible for the group of people who look and sound like me. We're a diverse leadership that wants to attract a diverse electorate. So it's not only a question of the DA transforming for the sake of gaining more black voters, which we've said we want to do, but it's also a question of the DA becoming more diverse because South Africa is a diverse country and we want to represent that diversity and we want to be a party of government. And in order to govern a diverse country, you have to reflect that diversity. So yes, we have always been committed to becoming a more diversified leadership. It's happening at an enormously fast pace right now. I spoke earlier about young people in the DA who are making enormous strides. There are also people of many, many different races, genders, of both genders, and people from all kinds of socioeconomic communities all coming together on the basis of founding a South Africa that is for all citizens and making sure that the South Africa is functional, it works, and that everybody defends each other's rights and is able to take responsibility for each other's rights. So that's an important project for the DA, and it goes beyond just the question of whether or not we can attract black or white or Indian or colored voters. It's about making sure that we are a South African party for all the people of this country.
What do you consider your biggest challenge as parliamentary leader in the next few months while we're going to have a break, recess, and in next year? What is it that you would want to achieve and differentiate yourself from the way Trollop, for example, was a parliamentary leader?
Well, I believe that there's been a different task for every leader that this party has had in Parliament and outside of Parliament, but particularly in Parliament. The task of, for example, Tony Leon was to establish us as a viable opposition. And he did that with 7 MPs when every other party that wasn't in the ANC had joined Nelson Mandela in his then government of national unity. Helen has been at the forefront of crafting us as a party of government, Helen Zille, in her capacity as Mayor of Cape Town and as Premier of the Western Cape. I believe my responsibility will be to position us as a party of government at national level. So what I want to do is use Parliament as a platform, not only to hold the ANC government at national level accountable for its work and for its successes or failures, but also to communicate to South Africa's voters what kind of South Africa the DA wants to build and how South Africa will look and feel and sound and be if the DA is a party of government at national level. I think it's an important step in the process of growing our brand as a party of government. It can be grown in the area of being in government, in local and regional governments, but it also needs to be grown in the area of policy development. So we need to offer not solutions only to the problems that the ANC is facing, but also solutions of our own ideological and principled base that say a South Africa government governed by the DA will look like this. It will have this many people out of unemployment. It'll address issues of poverty and education in such and such a way. This is the kind of platform we need to start to use Parliament for, because actually parliaments around the world exist for that very purpose, to facilitate change of government at the ballot box in a peaceful fashion. And that's why opposition MPs are in Parliament, to offer that alternative. So I think that's my responsibility going forward, and I'll consider my job well done if I am able to start to position the DA in that way, as a party of government in waiting at a national level.
But currently as opposition, do you then see a merger with COPE as the most likely way to go right now?
We have been in talks with many opposition parties, including COPE, for a very long time. We were in talks with COPE very soon after the 2009 election, and we were in talks with the UDM and the Independent Democrats. But the important thing about political parties coming together, and the DA has always been a huge champion of the realignment of the opposition, is that it has to happen on the basis of principles, common principles, a commitment to the rule of law, defending everybody, not being a party for one race group or one economic group or one language group, but defending all South Africans, and also has to be about adherence to the rule of law and clean government, and a commitment to growing South Africa's economy. Where we might differ on the details, the principles are essential.
What should we be doing to involve more women, and particularly young people, in the process of politics and change and democracy in South Africa?
Politics has traditionally been a field that was dominated by men and by an older generation. It's a phenomenon of politics throughout the world. And that's why it's very important in a country like ours and on a continent like ours, where young people and women are the dominant demographic, that women and young people enter politics and begin to shape the political discourse. I'm very fortunate in that I'm part of a political party that has got very open channels, as I was saying earlier, but also we have a development program, a development system. We have the DA Youth, we have the DA Young Leaders program, and crucially we even advertise for political candidates at election time. We say to the public, we don't believe we have, the last word on all knowledge about political engagement. If you are a DA supporter and you believe in the party cause, make yourself available for public office. And what it does is it means that we are always able to inject new ideas, new thinking, new experiences into what we do. And that is a huge boost for women and for young people. But I believe it has to be possible in a political party for women and young people to shape their own path. They shouldn't be confined to only dealing with women's issues or with youth issues. So although we have a women's network in the DA and we have a DA Youth, we also have women and young people who are outside of those networks who are operating in the mainstream. And I often find that groups like that can limit the potential of people to actually go out into mainstream politics. And so what we always encourage is for people to make decisions about what political future they want. And it's been an important factor in diversifying our leadership ranks. I think in 2014 you're going to see the increasing numbers of young people in their 30s, people coming from the professional world into politics, and coming to Parliament and to the legislatures to represent the DA, and even members who are older. Somebody like Wilmot James, who is at the pinnacle of his career in civil society, made the decision to enter politics and found a very streamlined path into the DA. So there's many ways in which we can keep the party momentum going, keep it modern, keep it alive, and keep the competition high as well. And those mechanisms make it possible for young people and women to have greater representation.
Would you like to be the national leader of the DA?
I would love to be the national leader one day, but I have to focus on this 2.5-year period now. I have lots of aspirations. I want to be in cabinet one day. I want to be president one day. But if I focus on these long-term things, I will get lost in that and not worry about the immediate needs. I think I'm entering a very exciting period in my political career, and I'm really excited about what we can do to make the DA and Parliament really start to hum at a very different pitch. And so I am setting myself this 2.5-year challenge, get through this term, get to 2014, grow as a party, and then reassess my options then.
Talking about aspirations, and this is our last question. At some stage in London while you were waitressing, you did, however, pursue a musical career. Has this now fallen by the wayside?
It has. I was a musician most of my life, my young life and my early adult life. And I wasn't able to pursue the studies that I wanted to pursue because it's very expensive to study overseas if you are a foreign student. And politics, the bug bit, and I don't look back even for a moment. I'm very happy with the career choice that I made. Music is still a very big passion for me. It's something I'm very attached to, but I'm very happy that I've been able to enter a whole new field and also have a lot of successes in that field. So I don't regret my choice.
Baie dankie vir jou tyd vanaand hier op Fokus, Lindiwe.
Baie dankie.
Net hierna, die Goudstad vier sy 125ste bestaanjaar. Bly ingeskakel. Welkom terug. Johannesburg, die goudstad en ekonomiese hartklop van Suid-Afrika, vier vanjaar sy 125ste bestaanjaar. Dis ook 'n stad wat spog met 'n ryk kultuurerfenis wat strek van die vroeë jare van die ANC tot die eerste bankroof in 1914. Talle kenners meen daar is verskeie gebiede wat steeds 'n rol speel in die geskiedenis van ons land wat eenvoudig nie die nodige erkenning kry nie. Fokus regisseur Julien Phyllis en kameraman Roy Freeman het saam met die Igoli Erfenis Stichting die stad ingevaar en van die geskiedkundige plekke besoek. Hier is hul verslag.
Johannesburg, ook bekend as die Goudstad, vier vanjaar sy 125ste bestaansjaar. Vandag is daar meer as 11 miljoen inwoners in Gauteng en dit word bestempel as die kernstad van ekonomiese ontwikkeling in Suid-Afrika. Om die stad se verjaarsdag te vier het Fokus saam met die Goli Erfenisstigting van die erfenisgebiede gaan besoek. Soweto is beslis een van die gunstelinge onder talle buitelandse toeriste, danksy sy ryk politieke geskiedenis. Geskiedkundiges meen dit is belangrik dat erfenisgebiede beskerm word.
I very much believe that our spiritual place is rooted by the buildings we have, the spaces we have, the parks we have, the history of the people that have lived in certain places. And the only way that we can not only as citizens enjoy our city, but attract other people from around the world is to keep part of our history and to embrace these spaces.
Soweto was eers net 'n swart kol op die Suid-Afrikaanse landkaart. Historiese geboue soos die Credo Mutwa Village, wat na die profeet en tradisionele Dr. Credo Mutwa vernoem is, beskik oor 'n spesiale plek in die land se geskiedenis. Die museum vertoon ware Afrika-kultuur en het in die verlede as skuilplek gedien vir politieke leiers. Vilakansiestraat is die geskiedkundige tuiste van twee Nobel-Vredespryswenners, oud-president Nelson Mandela en aartsbiskop emeritus Desmond Tutu. Hulle het in die vroeë 1940s hier gewoon. Tutu meen die geesdriftigheid van die inwoners het by tye die pyn oorskadu.
Despite deprivation and squalor, I mean the people who lived in Soweto had verve, you know, and you were saying you will not allow circumstances, even political circumstances, to keep you down. And so we ought to celebrate the spirit of the people. We ought to celebrate the diversity that we have.
Vandag is dit egter 'n ander prentjie in woonbuurte soos Kliptown. In 1955 met die bekendstelling van die Vredesmanifest het die mense hierheen gestroom. Die manifest vorm vandag die ruggraat van die COSATU SHKP ANC alliansie. Dit is hier waar verskeie rassegroepe in harmonie saamgeleef het.
Now, many of the houses in Kliptown go back to those early years. They've got a very distinctive style. They housed many of the most celebrated South Africans, black South Africans of that time. And they're under threat of demolition. I've seen them demolished when I was working there without any authorization whatsoever.
In Kensington is 'n gedenkplaat ter ere van die voorvaders van die Ivanhoe rolbalklip onthul. Die Kensington Erfenisstigting meen hulle het 'n ryk geskiedenis. In 1914 het die berugte Fosterbende in 'n grot geskuil nadat hulle deur die polisie vir 'n rits aanklagte van 'n roof en moord gesoek is. William Foster en die res van die bendelede het selfmoord gepleeg nadat hulle geweier het om hulle aan die polisie oor te gee. Die grot is vandag steeds van die grootste erfenisgebiede.
Community plays a big role, and I think if the community are house proud, they will definitely be proud to showcase some of the heritage they have in their homes.
Geskiedkundiges meen daar is baie erfenisgebiede wat nie erken word nie, maar wat tog 'n prominente rol speel in die land se geskiedenis.
Suid-Afrika bly daarom 'n kleurvoller land. Dit was vanaand se Fokus. Kykers se kommentaar en voorstelle is altyd welkom. Skryf net die woord Fokus, gevolg deur 'n kort boodskap en SMS dit na 34444. 'n SMS kos R2. En u kan gerus ook 'n lid word van ons Fokus groep op Facebook. Van my, Lenet Francis en die res van die Fokusspan, totsiens tot volgende Sondag.